After the highs of the Roaring '20s came the crash of 1929. Banks failed, farms collapsed, and millions lost their jobs. Hoovervilles rose from despair, while Dust Bowl storms drove families from the plains. But in Washington, Franklin D. Roosevelt offered hope with a New Deal and a promise of recovery. Offered hope with a New Deal and a promise of recovery. Even in hardship, Americans found joy through jazz, swing, and the silver screen. At home, soldiers returned to sweethearts, raising families in what became the baby boom as television and music reshaped daily life. The 1940s began under the shadow of war. Pearl Harbor drew America into the global fight against tyranny. Factories roared as Rosie the Riveter joined the front lines of industry. Victory came, but at a heavy price, ending with the dawn of the atomic age. At home, soldiers returned to sweethearts, raising families in what became the baby boom and Jim Crow laws, as television and music reshaped daily life. The 1950s brought booming suburbs, new highways, and rock and roll. Yet beneath prosperity, Cold War fears grew. McCarthyism, nuclear tests, and civil rights struggles defined the era. Rosa Parks sparked change. Disneyland opened its gates. And icons like Marilyn Monroe and James Dean captured the spirit of a generation. The 1960s were a turning point, a decade of revolution, conflict, and dreams that reshaped America forever. Across the South, the civil rights movement rose. Sit-ins, marches, and powerful voices like Martin Luther King Jr. demanded equality. From the March on Washington to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, progress was made. Those struggles continued, and the decade ended with tragedy. The Vietnam War, half a world away, another fight unfolded. Vietnam became America's longest, most divisive war. Television brought images of combat and protest into every living room, fueling a generation's anger and doubt. The young rejected their parents' values. A counterculture of hippies, free love, and psychedelic music challenged the old order. From Woodstock to San Francisco, a generation embraced peace, rebellion, and a new way of life. But the 1960s also lifted eyes to the stars. In 1969, Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon, fulfilling John F. Kennedy's bold vision and proving American innovation could reach beyond Earth itself. The Beatles, Bob Dylan, Motown, and Jimi Hendrix gave voice to the decade. Rock, soul, and protest songs became the soundtrack of change, reflecting the struggles and hopes of a restless nation. The 1960s were turbulent and transformative, a decade of protest and progress, of tragedy and triumph. A reminder that in times of great change, the future is written by those who dare to dream. The 1970s were a turbulent decade of conflict. Old wars dragged to an end, while new ones erupted across the globe. From Asia to the Middle East, battle lines were drawn, and the Cold War shadow loomed over them all. In Southeast Asia, the Vietnam War dominated the early 1970s. Despite years of fighting, protests, and mounting casualties, victory slipped further from reach. The 1973 Paris Peace Accords brought American withdrawal, but the fall of Saigon in 1975 marked a bitter end to a long and costly conflict. In the Middle East, war returned in 1973. Egypt and Syria launched a surprise attack on Israel during Yom Kippur, sparking fierce battles. Though a ceasefire followed, the war reshaped regional politics and triggered an oil embargo that sent shockwaves across the world.